Hey, everybody, welcome back to Lettermen Row. I am Austin Ward, joined again by the Washington football team standout wide receiver, former Ohio State captain, Terry McLaurin, a guy who knows Chris Olave pretty well, was there when he arrived. We break down that decision. I thought was a little bit surprising to me, Terry. I knowing, you made this, you went through this process, and now Chris Olave did the same thing. Were you surprised at all that he did, something similar to what you, Paris, and Johnny did a few years ago and came back?
I got to talk to Chris a little bit. We have a really unique relationship that I'm grateful of. And, without telling all the details of our conversation, at the end of the day, I just wanted to encourage him to, do the best he could to choose a decision that he could live with and be happy with. And if that was going to the NFL, I supported that. If that was coming back, I supported that as well, because I know the tutelage of what he'd be coming back with Coach Hartline. And he's only going to, people can't appreciate how much a year can do for a guy mentally, physically, and in their skill set. So, I feel like he part of him wants to be grow into more of a leader. And, I'm just excited what he can do in another year coming back as a veteran, kind of like a guy who, everybody knows you're the guy. So he'll probably see some role coverage and things like that, which will open it up for a lot of those other receivers. So I'm happy for Chris. At the end of the day, I think he has a bright future. And just most importantly, he's been a great person since I've known him, since that first practice when he blew us all away. So it's just so cool to see him, basically come into a man now, you know what I mean? And being the leader of a group. And from out here, he's more vocal and things like that. So that's just cool to see that maturation process. And, the NFL is not going anywhere. So I'm sure he'll probably be one of the top guys coming out, next year.
Terry, take us back to that first practice or first meeting with Chris, because, everyone knows the story at this point. He was a late recruit. Right. Brian Day stumbled onto him, and, Coach Hartline had the scouting report on him, and he'd filled that out and all that. But he was still, in that class way down the list. Mm-hmm. What was it when he came in without maybe some of the 4- and 5-star attention that turned your head when he got there?
He played a really mature game as a freshman. Like, I remember the first few practices, like, he wasn't having any MAs. He was catching every ball. He was where he needed to be. And if you had stories about how my first practice went, there would have been some stories. But just his maturity, how he came in. Obviously, people know he's kind of a quiet guy, but when you get to know him, you just see how intelligent he is, how well he sees the game, and how just it seems like it comes easy for him. And, at the end of the day, I think he's a hard worker, which even amplifies his talent. So when you get that combination, especially as early as he did, and you put it with the coaching that he has, you see what you're seeing now. So I think that's the coolest part.
What do you like watching him do more? Catch those deep ball touchdowns, or run down there and down a punt inside the 5?
I gotta say down the punt inside the 5. You know what I mean? Scoring touchdowns is great, but I don't think people can still appreciate how much that field position matters in football. And when you got the type of talent that we have at punter and on our team, and the athletes that we could put out on special teams, that could be a game changer. And I'm seeing Chris going down. I seen Jameson, those dudes, like, that makes me proud, because that's where I got my start, and that's where I earned my stripes. And to see those guys who are so talented, playing receiver at a high level, and then still being humble enough and hungry enough and wanting to help the team to play special teams and play really hard. I think that says a lot about them as people, but just the culture there at Ohio State. So I'm definitely glad to sit down in the ball.
When you said that you would do this, I did think about putting one of those clips on there for us to break down Buckeye Q, but it's not this time. We're just going to stick to the wide receiver stuff. No. Break down what Chris Olave does for that Ohio State offense with Terry McLaurin right now. Let's roll the tape. All right, Terry, let's get into it. This is just a veteran savvy move here. I know that you picked up on this right away when we watched the clips beforehand. Chris Olave just showing that, hey, this is the end of year 3 in the program. He knows where he needs to be.
Yeah. This is like a curl flat read right here. Chris wants to hook that defender that's going to the flat to cover the flat. And that's how you can tell. That's what you want to see. I know as a coach and, as a former teammate, that's what you want to see, a guy do when he gets older and more mature and gets a feel for the game. That's a great feel for the game. To come out of that route, if he stayed there, the cornerback probably would have got his hand on it. But if you notice, he suddenly starts coming back to the ball to meet the ball. In zone coverage, that's paramount because defenders have their eyes on the quarterback, and you know what I mean? They're breaking when that ball breaks. So when he sees Justin sees Chris coming out of that route, he hopes that he's coming back to the ball, and Chris doesn't drift inside, he doesn't drift outside, he comes back friendly to the ball, and it's a big completion.
Moving the chains, good throw from Justin Fields. That'll also be a theme here. We'll save that conversation for another time with people questioning the quarterback here. Mm-hmm. But we're talking about Chris Olave in this route. I mean, I feel sorry for this DB because Chris Olave just makes him look silly.
Man, he ran that route so beautifully. And the thing is, that route is a great route to run, especially in the red zone, because it gives two things. Because look, they ran that action earlier. I know on the Jackson play, they ran this sprint out action. A lot of times that out route is going to be there. It gets this off man. I mean, it looks like off coverage. Look, off man. Yeah. His eyes are on, he's trying to press Chris and Justin. So when Chris comes out of this route, he has to press back up forward to save that space. There's not a lot of space to that sideline. Once Justin's rolling out, he's holding those defenders to try to give Chris some time. So when Chris comes back out of this route, you got to stay tight to this guy, because if he doesn't, that corner's going to not feel that vertical part of that route, and he's going to come out possibly even intercepted. So when Chris gets vertical and sells that route, look at the DB. His eyes are up because he thinks it's a double move. So once the DB saw, okay, it's not an out route, okay, he's going up and he's pressing vertical like it's a double move, I got to respect it. You know what I mean? Then Chris just snaps it off, doesn't push by, doesn't do anything. It's all feet. Through the catch, 2 feet in, he knew it. Look at that. He's attacking his outside hip to get this guy to open up. You got to respect that I'm going to go around you. Whoop. Yep. Boom. And he tried to hold him. We call that and one. Because he held him. Yeah.
Yeah, it counts. That's a big one.
Beautifully. And I know they probably rep that play over and over and over again, but it just – they made that look so smooth. And those two clips, you could tell Justin and Chris had that chemistry. They had a great feel where each other were going to be on most reps, if not all.
There you go. You got those black rubber pellets flying, getting those 2 feet down.
It's NFL ready.
Touchdown.
NFL ready right there.
All right, here you could go on here with what Chris Olave did. I mean, he could just – I don't know how you're supposed to defend this entire collection of wide receivers, but this just becomes easy money. Like, you've got one of the fastest, most explosive players in college football running free down the middle of the field. Some of it's scheme, some of it's talent, but all of it is bad news for a defense.
I like how you said that right there. When you got a great scheme with Coach Day and the staff does with great players, it makes things a lot easier. But you got to execute them in the moments needed. You know what I mean? And this is like a vertical concept. Chris is the inside guy. He's trying to, there you go. Gets over the top of that Mike defender. Somebody probably, it looks like a blown coverage. It looks like somebody possibly should have had that middle of the field. Looks like almost like a version of Tampa 2, but nobody has the middle of the field. So Coach Day schemed them up great right here. Justin knows that Chris is the guy he wants. Chris doesn't give Justin his eyes or his shoulders until he's ready for the ball. But the great thing, if you could rewind it just a little bit, the great thing that Chris did here, he kept this route skinny. If he would have went over, some guys see this open space and they go right over to where the numbers are. So you see the opposite numbers, that's where that DB is. If Chris doesn't keep this route skinny, QB friendly, he probably gets knocked out. No lie. He probably gets hit pretty hard, but the reason he kept it skinny, Justin stopped him with the ball. So that's good on Justin. Justin could have threw a deep ball, and the DB probably runs through it. But Chris had a feel for that zone again, sat down a little bit, and kept it skinny, and Justin put it right there. And Chris protected himself, and Justin protected Chris and the ball. So, great scheme, great execution, and that was a big play in the game. When you get chunk plays like that, when you can scheme up chunk plays like that, that require, you not even have to beating a man. Hey, if you get both of those going in the game, good luck stopping that offense.
There you go. And here we go. This This one, speaking of chunk plays, and then, this one isn't so much scheme to me as much just two great high, NFL players making a little bit of magic here. I mean, just a gorgeous deep ball, well executed on both ends.
Justin was throwing it all around the yard that day. Man, but shout out to the O-line too. I'm a guy who always shouts out the O-line. Can't do it without them. So that pocket was great, but it looks like another inside post route. You know what I mean? The DB's playing a little bit more flat. You would think he'd have a little bit more respect for Chris's speed, but Chris makes him pay. He gets on him real fast. But kind of some of the Jameson's route, he doesn't run inside immediately. He keeps it skinny. So this is a different look because this DB is a little closer, but you still want to attack him outside. You got to have that DB respect multiple angles of the cut.
Right.
And he can't feed Chris's routes to the safety as quickly because Chris keeps it skinny. By that time, that's just speed. That safety can't let that happen. Chris runs by both of them, but it started because he kept his route skinny against that DB. Great ball by Justin. The way Chris got back into the ball, that's huge. That's not easy to do, especially when your speed is going as much as it is upfield to be able to, reach back and grab that ball. Justin moves around the pocket great. Chris keeps it friendly. Look, right on the goalpost, right again. You want to keep that route skinny. Big play.
This is when you can kind of tell, too, Terry, how much this game meant to him after the Fiesta Bowl the year before. And, Byrne got some great shots. He was in this end zone. You could see it on Chris's face, how excited he was, how much this meant to him to have that impact again in this game, especially against this team.
Yeah, and, watching that game, you just felt for Chris because the type of guy he is, the type of player he is, and how much he cares. And but I remember watching the game with my girlfriend, and I was like, that was a tough moment, but I knew he'd come back and bounce back from it. You didn't know how, but just the type of person he is, the resiliency that he's always showed throughout his career. And, he got a second opportunity to make things right, and boy, did he. You know what I mean? So shout out to Chris, and that just shows the trust that they have in Chris. He's their guy. There's no secret. There's no, he's the top dog there. And that goes a long way being the top dog at Ohio State. But it comes with a lot of responsibility. And there's a lot of guys looking up to Chris, and I know he's going to keep that legacy going and hopefully be the first round receiver that we've had in a while. So, shout out to those guys, man. I'm excited to see more of that this year.
More on the way. Chris Olave sticking around to lead that unit just like Terry McLaurin, Paris Campbell, and Johnny Dixon did once upon a time. It's a trend now. Stick around, be a senior, and get that final year to grow. I know that these guys are trying to live up to that legacy, that standard that you guys passed down, Terry. So appreciate you breaking it down for us again, your insight, your time, all of it. We appreciate it.
No doubt. Appreciate you guys for having me.
All right, that's Terry McLaurin. I am Austin Ward. This has been Buckeye Q, brought to you by Lettermen Row. We will see you next time.